there are a lot of folks that will be somewhat surprised that when I start working with the cyclist, kind of right out of the gate, I don't have them squat. I may have them work on a hip hinge or a deadlift variation, but I don't have them squat until I know for sure that they're able to be to get themselves into a good neutral, get the hips into a neutral position and not be anteriorly rotated, because it just improves or increases stress on the low back, which you typically never want. Because if the nervous system identifies that, hey, the spinal column is somewhat, the structural integrity is somewhat compromised, it will actually start to shut down neural drive or neural input into the primary movers as a way for the body to kind of protect your back, so to say. So you kind of get to a point where it's like, well, that lift is, you kind of stagnate, you kind of plateau, right? Then I work a lot with opening up the pectoral girdle. So we work on gaining more flexibility in the lat and the subscapularis and the pectoral muscles. Because until we do that, it makes it somewhat difficult sometimes to really target the scapular stabilizers, especially the muscles that kind of attach on the lower part of the shoulder blade that kind of draw the shoulder blades down. Now that's an important thing, because if put it this way, the spine and the rib cage kind of tell the shoulder blade where to go, and then the shoulder blade tells the upper arm bone where to go. Okay, so it's a very, I don't want to say complex, but there are, all those muscles that work all those joints, kind of work in concert in order to produce or resist movement. And if there's a discrepancy somewhere in that what we call kinetic chaining or kinetic sequencing, if there's some sort of a discrepancy in there, it will ultimately usually have a negative impact on how the shoulder works. And so it's usually the end result with that is sometimes one of those injuries where it's like, well, man, there was no trauma, like I didn't hurt myself, it just started aching one day and it's just kind of been there, it doesn't go away, so they're kind of a subtle injury. So we open that up, and then when we open up the pectoral girdle, puts us in a better position now to really target those muscles that stabilize the scapula, because at the end of the day, if you can't thoroughly stabilize your scapula, again, kind of like what I said with the squat, your body will kind of reach a point where it is senses the fact that you're out of alignment, so to say, and it will kind of limit how strong you can get in basic pulling and pressing exercises. So those are kind of the key areas that I usually look for, and more often than not, the key areas that we have to start attacking right out of the gate, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. If those are your weak links, it's going to ultimately limit how well you perform in the stuff that you are good at. But as soon as you strengthen and correct those weak links, those are no longer your weak links, and you usually will perform better at the stuff that you were already pretty good at.
Mm-hmm.